Yeah.
So, okay, well, we're already rolling, so we'll get into it. So we are at episode 7 for the Riven podcast, and my name is Mike Hartle, and I'm here with, you might notice somebody's very missing from the scene today. Yeah, so
I'm doing my best to fill in.
Dash is going to do his best Adam Laga impression, but this is actually Dash. A lot of people don't know. Dash is actually one of the owners of Riven as well. He's kind of the behind the scenes, makes stuff happen a lot of times, but he's very talented in many things, and so we're excited to have him on the podcast. And then super excited for our guest this week. We have Dustin Shillcox. And Dustin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of give us a quick intro, and then we'll hop into kind of your story.
Okay. Yeah. So I actually got in a car accident about 5 years ago, and it left me paralyzed from the nipple line down. And I was told by the doctors that I would never be able to walk or move or stand again. And so I've been going through that battle of trying to change my life and learn how to live out of a wheelchair.
Yeah, so if you guys are kind of seeing a theme here of what we're trying to bring on the Riven podcast, I personally feel like we're extremely lucky to have been getting the guests that we've got, and you know, we're getting some really cool inspirational stories. And Dustin and I just kind of connected in the last couple of weeks, and Riven's going to be working with Dustin and his foundation, and we're going to be kind of doing some co-branded stuff. And he's got a foundation where he's raising funds and awareness for spinal cord research, and so we're lucky enough to be the kind of company that gets to work with really cool individuals like Dustin. And you know, I know nobody really cares about what I have to say. I think everyone's going to be really interested in your story and your progression. So why don't you kind of take us back to the beginning and kind of take us to what your life was like before your car accident, and kind of go from there.
Okay. Yeah, well, so before my accident, you know, I was just like probably a lot of you guys. You know, I was a young, outgoing, active adult. I spent my summers out at the lake on my boat, jet skiing, riding four-wheelers and motorcycles.
Where did you grow up? Where were you at?
I'm from Green River, Wyoming.
Okay.
So outdoor sports were a huge thing in my life. Yeah. And then...
well, they have to be, right? Because there's not a whole lot else.
No, I know. If you don't like the outdoors, it's not the place to be.
Yeah.
You know, and then in the wintertime, you'd find me in the mountains, because snowmobiling, that was my huge passion. You know, my life was going great.
Snowmobiling, not snow machining, right?
Yeah, snowmobiling. Yeah, snow machining. Who says that?
That's Idahoans.
That's an Idaho.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I was doing that, and then at the time, I was actually working with my father. He owns 4 different companies in Wyoming, Green River, and our goal was, you know, he was training me to take over the family business. Mm-hmm. So I was doing everything I could.
What are the businesses?
He owns actually 3 different glass companies for like windshields, house windows, and does siding on houses, and he actually owns a lumber yard. Okay. So it was really a lot of work just keeping up with everyday things, just doing that. So,
so what's your dad like? I mean, is he kind of like an old school, work hard Wyoming boy? How would you describe him in your upbringing?
My dad, he's a hero for me in my life. Uh-huh. He works his butt off to the tail, but you know, he likes to play. He snowmobiles with us. He spends the summers camping out at our cabin and hunting. He's all into outdoors, especially too, and that's something that
sounds like my dad. That's why I was.
Yeah, well, it was great. You know, the thing is we both had a vision. We knew exactly what we wanted to do with our life, and then, you know, things always don't work out the way you want them to.
So he was grooming you to be kind of take over the businesses, and you were working with him, and then I guess you had an accident?
Yeah, so it was on August 26, 2010. I was actually in Green River, Wyoming, and I had made a trip over to Rock Springs to do some work that morning. And, you know, it was a great morning for me, because that was actually the day that I stopped in. I bought myself a brand new snow machine. So, you know, because usually I don't remember each day particularly, especially that day driving, because I go back and forth all the time. But that day I remember stopping in, I bought myself a new snow machine. And then right after that, I drove across town and I specially ordered myself a new pickup truck.
Wow.
So
Literally right on top of the world.
Oh,
right on
man,
top
like-
of the world. Life was good, huh?
Yeah, it was going great. I mean, it was just had everything that I wanted that morning, and at the time, I mean, I didn't really have a whole lot of issues. I mean, my life was going great.
Not a care in the world.
No.
What are you? So you were the son, and do you have siblings? Were there
Yeah.
siblings in the family?
Yeah, I've got a brother and 2 sisters.
Okay, brother, 2 sisters. Is your brother younger?
Yeah, a younger brother, and he's actually working for my dad right now. He's
Okay. Yeah.
training with the company.
Okay, cool.
But like I said, that morning, I was coming back down on the freeway, and being like most people out there, I was 26 years old and I wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear things happening, people getting in car accidents or wrecks, and the way that my problem was is I always knew stuff like that would just never happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think a lot of people do. You just live your life. I mean, I always said I played hard and I worked hard, played harder. And when I was going down the freeway, I had my tire blow out. It sucked me into the median, and I got caught in that cable fencing, and it caused the vehicle to roll over. And not having my seatbelt on, I was ejected out the window.
Wow. So, I mean, I think I've gone through phases in my life. When I was young, I never wore my seatbelt either. I mean, is that something else that's kind of, I mean, do you have regrets? Like, oh, I wish I would have worn my seatbelt. Or is that something you really campaign or crusade for?
Yeah, I think so. Because I didn't have a seatbelt on that morning, and I can't tell you why. It takes like 3 seconds to reach over and click it. But that wasn't the only issue. Like I said, I rode motorcycles. Sometimes I wouldn't put on a helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Or
done that.
When I'm working, in the shop with my dad, I wouldn't put on safety glasses. And most of the reason why I think for everybody is because it's inconvenient or it's irritating to have that kind of stuff on your body.
Yeah. So are you convinced that if you would have been wearing your seatbelt, the wreck would have been less devastating?
Yeah, I probably imagine I'd still be walking around today. It's things like, it's just not worth taking the gamble of things like that, because what happens is you're accountable for the actions you take.
What changed that for me was kids, for sure. I mean, I lost a buddy, my best friend, to an accident on a motorcycle, and that kind of got my mentality thinking. But shortly after that, I got married and then started having kids, and now it's like second nature. I wouldn't think not to have my seatbelt or have my kids on with the seatbelts. And I've kind of had the classic role, mental change on that.
Yeah, and for me, I think that what made me change my life, and I don't think it should have to come to this, and unfortunately it does for, I think, a lot of people, like you said, I mean, having kids. But I was single, 26 years old, and you just don't think nothing bad's going to happen to you until it actually does. When you have something so traumatic happen in your life, then all of a sudden you do take all these things that you took for granted. You start doing everything, but sometimes it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, now I buckle up now, but
yeah.
I do all the things now that I should have been doing, but sometimes it just shouldn't have to come to this for people to actually, make that choice and make the right choices on it. Because those things are out there to keep us safe. When you have, like I said, helmets, seat belts, safety glasses, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and even if they may not always make the difference in every occasion, they're making a difference in plenty of cases where we should always make an effort to do those things.
I think so for sure.
That's probably a message that's resonating with our group. I've got our demographic, because I tend to see our demographic as more of the kind of similar mentality, the work hard, play harder
type
exactly. Demographic.
And I don't think that sometimes when I talk about especially safety things that it's not saying don't play hard, and because if you enjoy that stuff, I mean I want to push things to limits. Just like
you could have just
else.
easily had an accident on a snowmobile.
Yeah, I mean it's just a matter of things do happen, and it's going to be you have things happen in your life, but you definitely can do things that can prevent.
So take on an actual accident. So in the wreck, you obviously see it coming. You're flipping. Were you like knocked out? Were you aware of like the actual accident?
Yeah. So for me, actually, after the accident happened, I was taken by an ambulance to Rock Springs Memorial Hospital.
Did you pass out? Were you knocked out?
And see, I think that they said I was somewhat conscious, but going in and out of it. But I don't have any memory from August 26th until the beginning part of October sometime.
Really?
Yeah, because I was in critical intensive care for 17 days. And then
so were you in a coma or?
Mm-hmm. But I was in coma for a while, and then I was also induced coma to keep me.
Your brain, you had head trauma then, obviously,
Yep.
too.
Yeah, so not only did I was suffering from a broken back, I had 4 broken ribs, my sternum was broken, shattered my left elbow, both my lungs had collapsed, and I was suffering from a traumatic brain injury.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. So, how, like, obviously, they were able, did Lifelight come and get you, or how do they have it in Rock Springs?
Yeah, so I went to Rock Springs Hospital, and they had Lifelight take me to the University of Utah, and because both
Okay.
my lungs were collapsed, they had one of those airmed guys who actually had to
Uh-huh.
manually breathe for me all the way here because they didn't think I was going to make it. I mean, it was not a good looking scene.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So, I mean, take us through kind of you obviously don't remember for, 6 weeks? You have this.
Yeah.
Take us through, like, your kind of, like, the first moments and then, like, the early stages of your recovery and kind of where you were at, like, mentally.
Well, so when I first started actually coming out of my comas and I guess and starting to realize where I was at, it was mentally discouraging. It was tough. A matter of fact, there was a nurse that would work on me like 5 days a week. She was my main nurse, and but there were the times that she would come in early before her job started just to talk with me, and she would talk to me about things other than my car accident. She would talk about my life before, what I enjoyed doing. But it was people like her that kept me motivated and kept me, pushing forward. She inspired me to keep trying. I mean, it's kind of weird how that happened because I can't remember exactly what time it was, but it was sometime in October. I was sitting in my hospital room, and I was with my doctor and my physical therapist, and they were sitting there talking about things that I'd worked on and then the things I need to start working on in my future. So that's when I said, well, when are we going to start working on trying to get me out of this wheelchair? And the doctor said, unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. So that's when I looked at him. I said, well, what are the chances of me walking again? And he said, man, you're paralyzed. You're probably never going to walk or ever be able to move again.
So, I mean, that obviously was a pretty devastating, probably one of the most devastating physical things that people can go through. What did you think, like, in that moment? And what did you know? I mean, what is paralyzation? In other words, like, why? Obviously, everybody knows what it is, but what prevents you physically from being able to walk? And
well, what paralyzed? We're all in different areas. What I was paralyzed at is a T4, which is right at the nipple line, and then down. I have no.
So that's essentially where your spine broke or like severed.
Yeah, it's damaged. Mine's actually not severed, but it's damaged, and I'm actually. They said I'm a T4 Asia A complete, which means I have no sensation, no ability to move anything. I mean, basically, they say that's what you got. You're here for the rest of your life, so you better start learning how to use a wheelchair. And then, like I said, when he told me that, I mean, I took myself outside of the hospital, and that was probably the toughest time, like you said, in my life. I mean, you're sitting there. That day was a beautiful day outside, and I'm looking at, the beautiful scenery, the sky. But at the time, I couldn't think of one good thing that I wanted to think about.
Yeah.
I had millions of emotions going through my head. I mean, at the time, that's when I was crying, I was screaming. And, at times like that in your life, too, I mean, it's like, don't think that I wasn't considering doing the worst to myself. I mean, it's your life. I mean, I don't think you can prepare yourself to hear the news like that. I mean, because the way I lived my life and the things that I did, you think about go back home, how are you ever going to go back and enjoying the life that I had before?
Mm-hmm.
So that was tough, man. And then it was just not a lot I could actually
look back on it. And so tell us about, like, your support system, or kind of like I mean, obviously there was a nurse that was, I think that's really cool. Not that a nurse, somebody who it's her job to just take care of you, but she kind of went above and beyond to kind of give you some extra hope or motivation there.
On a mental and spiritual level, even.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Oh yeah, that's like, I think that is probably one of the best things I had was the support group. I mean, and Jody, she was that nurse. She what an amazing lady. I mean, she, like I said, she'd come in early, stay late. She was just a great person to have in my life. But not only that, when I first got injured, my family came out with a bracelet, and it said, "Trust for the dust, Shillcox strong." But my family and my friends, they would always send me pictures of themselves wearing my bracelet. And that kept me inspired because, people are thinking about you. You're going through a a difficult time in your life, and people are out there. But not only that, there's pictures. I have a buddy who actually works for the Denver Broncos, and he took those bracelets in there. He put one around the Super Bowl ring, and had a couple of the Bronco players have my bracelet on.
Oh, that's
cool.
Yeah. So that was really, to watch the guys that I root for every Sunday afternoon have my bracelet on, you're like, boom, you're thinking motive. So stuff like that. It's a support group, and still today, it's 5 years later, and in our hometown, you still see people with my bracelet on. There was actually a sticker that people had on their back windows. You see that around. It's like pretty cool that people are supporting you, what you're going through. Because you're down here and you just think you're by yourself. Your life's changed.
Yeah.
You're going through that situation. And I remember at that time when it was a few days later, but after the reality of my situation did set in, and I came to realize that life as I knew it was going to be changed forever. That was the time that I was asking myself the question that I told you about. It's because I couldn't do anything about how I got here. I can't go back in my past and change what happened, but I only can make the choices on where I go today. So I asked myself, what are you going to do now?
What do you, this is what kind of the heart of, what do you attribute that to, as far as like people who have that happen, and then obviously you were in the depths of despair and, just really down. What do you attribute the difference between someone like you who've been able to be mentally strong, what'd you say, trust for the dust, Shillcox strong, and then the other people who maybe wallow in self-sorrow and misery? Like, what was it, something you were raised, like religious beliefs? What do you attribute your ability to be able to do that to? To be mentally strong and not kind of go the other direction?
Well, I'm not going to say I didn't go. I think at every time everybody has self-pity. Everyone feels sorry for themselves. And I did. I had my depression times where I didn't. I still have bad days today. I think everyone has them regardless. I think it was like the support group you had, and then plus, opportunities that I've had present themselves in my life have really opened up more doors, and realized that, it really depends on how great of an attitude I can have, and like the work that I can put in. When you're inspiring people, you don't even realize who you have inspired. It's amazing what you can do with that. Because really, when you're looking at me, like in this room right now, you can see that I'm in a wheelchair. And when people think about someone who's in a wheelchair, they usually just think about how we get in, how we get out of places, how we got in here tonight.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more other issues than that. This one night, I'll tell you this. This one night I went over to my buddy's house, and when you go to a place where there are no ramps, you got to figure things out a little bit different. Because that night we got to my buddy's house, and we get to his front steps, and there's about 5 stairs in order for us to get in. Well, one of my friends just picked me up, carried me up the stairs, and the other guy followed me in my wheelchair. Well, that was the first time where I learned my two important lessons. Because I think when someone builds or designs a house, they usually don't consider that someone in a wheelchair will ever be in it. Because that night we're sitting in my buddy's living room, and that's when I had to use a bathroom. So I rolled down the hallway, I turned to go in the bathroom door, and I can't make it in because my tires of my wheelchair are just a little bit too wide. And that's when I said I learned my second lesson. You find out who your real friends are.
Yeah.
Because and there's so many different issues like that I think when you're in a wheelchair, the world is just so much, there's a lot of struggles we come up against. I'm from Wyoming, and in the wintertime, I don't have chains for my tires.
Yeah.
And, in a wheelchair, have you ever tried pushing it through some deep grass or gravel, or when you're out camping in the mountains or hiking, it's like...
And you're a young, strong dude.
Yeah, and it's definitely all kinds of challenges that we go through in a wheelchair. So, there's lots of challenges that you can have besides just not walking. So, but, and that's why I say when I talk about this, those are just challenges that I have, and I relate to other people because, there's so many, just because you can see what my immediate challenge is, but there are people out there who are going through an extreme challenge right now, and you just can't see it. It's like, like the bathroom ones or the stairs, just they're there, you just don't know about it.
They may not be so obviously physical.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean
in nature.
Doesn't mean it's any more worse or even more disabling, I'd say, than mine. Because there are challenges, whether it be relationships or money or divorces. There's tons of things that people have to deal with.
So, I mean, that's obviously a very good perspective and a very fair-minded thing. Do you ever get frustrated when you see people like complaining, or they're complaining about relatively mundane things, and you're like, well, geez, man, I mean, that's nothing compared to what I'm going through or what I've been through.
In a way, I kind of do. I say it depends on when you see someone and what they're complaining about, because I have the same issues. I have relationship problems. I have money issues. I've got, just like anyone else, I've got the same ones, but I also have a really strong one right here. You can just tell what it is. But like I said, it's, so I've gotten to be more open about that. Like, if someone's got an issue, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and really bash about it, because that's like, I've got the same one probably. It's just a matter of other ones that get involved with it. And so, like I was saying earlier, because my goal and the challenge that I have right now is to walk again. But before I can walk, I have to be able to stand up. So that's what I tell people is, what is your walk? What is something that you really want? Something that you want to work hard for and be successful over? What's something that you're willing to put the time in to make something happen? Because that's what I say your walk is. And then
so you actually, I mean, that you give motivational speeches now, and that's kind of the heart of your talk, right? How did you get into that from, being in the hospital and starting your recovery? How did you kind of make the transition or the journey to that, to all of a sudden now you're doing motivational speeches, you're involved in, a lot of foundations and stuff? How did that happen?
Well, and that's just because when I first got out of the hospital and, you get right back into life, people want to hear your story, hear what happened to you. And so I talk about what I went through. And then the more I've done it, I mean, it's amazing how I've learned about other people's challenges, other people's struggles. And I realized that with my own, if I can use my situation to better someone else's life, and even myself, because I feel great about inspiring people. I feel great when it helps somebody out, to the way they view their own challenges. And if it puts them in a positive way, then, I want to keep doing that. So that's, the more I've done it, the more opportunity it's presented, and I just kind of continued to pursue it.
Yeah. I mean, so tell me about your talk. I mean, you go and give these motivational speeches, and you said what's your walk and what's your stand? That's essentially what's your long-term goal in life, and then what's...
Well, it could be anything. I mean, like a walk, because that's just a goal of mine is walk. But I kind of use in different things. Like, my walk is, I'm doing the New York City Marathon. My walk is, to have a certain time, or even in the gym. You want to do a weight issue. Whether you want to do, it could be a daily thing. Maybe today you want to do so many pull-ups, or you want to make sure you tell people, good morning. I mean, whatever your walk is, to better your situation. It doesn't have to be a term goal. It could be something just to better out your challenge right now. I think, something I heard one time, it was actually Jim Carrey. He said, and I live by it too, because, everybody hopes that something's going to happen. Everybody hopes to be successful. They hope that they want to, I hope that I'll walk again. I'll hope that this happens. But he said that he doesn't believe in hope, because hope is for beggars. But he believes in faith. And he's not talking about religion, but faith. Believing in whatever it is that you want to accomplish, you're willing to do. Believing in yourself. Believing in what challenges you have, you're going to do something about it. Not hope that it's going to get done. I mean, because hoping is
hoping that someone finds a cure. That
right.
Comes to you with a magic solution.
Right. Yeah. So there's things you can hope that, I hope the Broncos win the Super Bowl, because I can't do a whole lot. I can't do a lot to change that. But, if you wanted to, in somebody else's life, maybe you wanted to be a receiver and play in the NFL. You can't hope it's going to happen. But if you have faith in yourself and you put the work in and you put the dedication in, those are the people that are successful. Those are the people who make things happen.
Faith is proactive.
Exactly. So, and it's like I said, believing in yourself. But
was that from that commencement speech that Jim Carrey gave?
It was, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I listened to it when he was saying that. I was like, man, I just love that part there, because it kind of fits into what I say. He says all that about that time, and I say, I have those towels, and I say, if you want to get something done, you've got to stop wiping tears from your eyes, feeling sorry for your own circumstances, but start wiping the sweat from your brow and making things happen. And then when I heard him say that, I was like, it all basically comes back down to my word, which is, what are you going to do now? So there's all these things that can click to you. It's just a matter of how you want to make something happen.
Yeah, so tell us about, your life now. I know that you have, and I kind of alluded to it, you have your own foundation. What's the Dustin Shillcox Foundation? And tell us about like what you're doing next week or later this weekend.
Okay, well, so the Dustin Shillcox Foundation is just a foundation I've started because I go out and I do motivational speaking, and as I've been doing this, I found ways that if I can raise money for spinal cord research, that's obviously a big passion of mine because I have a spinal cord injury and I want to walk again. So I do things to help make it happen. But now I've kind of leaned more towards, there are some people actually that I see in therapy who are working really hard, but they need some extra assistance. Matter of fact, one guy I know, he needs these leg braces, these orthotics. And so for my foundation, like we were saying, if we can, with some gear, some apparel that I start selling, the proceeds that will go to buying him things that can keep himself better in himself. So I want to use my foundation to help people keep themselves in great shape and keep themselves available, because as research continues to advance itself, as we get to the next level, the better shape that you're going to keep yourself in now will mean the better chances you're going to have in the future in the long run. So my goal with my foundation is to raise money for spinal cord research and to better people's lives who are in wheelchairs right now.
Yeah, that's an amazing, noble goal, and we've been working and strategizing. That's how we met, to find ways to try to make that happen as much as we can through some co-branded apparel or some of your own gear. And I think that's really what our company, why we do these podcasts, what our values are as a brand. I don't know if we've ever even talked about it or told you, but Riven stands for respect, integrity, victory, effort, and never give up. And so I think you obviously represent all of those tenets and all of those values, our core values. And so it's really inspiring to me. What are you doing? Where are you flying out tomorrow?
I'm flying out to New York City. I'm actually going to be participating in the New York City Marathon.
That's cool.
On the Sunday.
That's awesome. So, and you have a custom wheelchair? Do you do a hand cycle?
It'll be in a hand cycle. Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
are you able to do the whole marathon?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really?
I'm thinking we were predicting our times, and I'm hoping I can do it like maybe in an hour and 35 minutes.
Really?
Or so. I'm just guessing. Like that's, as I was talking to people, also, there'll be however many hand cyclists. I think I couldn't even guess, maybe 100 more hand cyclists. It's obviously going to be traffic, fighting through and getting, to a point where you can actually hold a steady thing. But I'm pretty confident. I've been training here in Salt Lake and Heber, and the elevation's a little bit higher, and I've been doing some hills and stuff like that. And I think New York's pretty flat. I think the hardest part is the bridges. They said the bridges, but I'm pretty pumped up for it, and I want to set a good goal for myself. I want to have a great finish, and I think it's going to be an experience that, I don't think most people actually get a chance to do, but it's going to be.
That's going to be awesome. So, just like, have you done a full marathon yet?
Actually, I did. I did the St. George Marathon, but that was like downhill.
How sore are your arms and your shoulders afterwards from hand cycling that much? I can only imagine.
Actually, when I first started training, it was like I would hand cycle, say, I don't know, maybe 10 miles, and I literally had to come home and just take a nap. I had to rest. I was exhausted. And then, but I've been training throughout the summers and stuff like that. And actually tonight, I know they said not to do too much. So tonight I was going to go for 10 miles. I was going to do a quick 10-mile ride tonight and then go to the gym afterwards. So I think actually, I don't know, but I've trained myself enough that 26 miles, I will be tired, but that's going to be Sunday. I'm going to have to watch the Bronco games that night. I don't think it's going to be wearing me down. I should be energized. But it takes a lot of, but I'm going to be pushing hard. I'm going for a great time. I know each individual person. I have a buddy who's doing the marathon also with me. His name's Alan Brown. But he's a quadriplegic, so he can't even grip the handles. He's going to tie his wrists on to the bike, and for him to do the 26 miles, that is amazing. Yeah. He is someone who's, for me, it's
how does he? What is he? Does it?
No, it's just like mine. It's a hand cycle. He just uses his arms because he can't grab it with his hands. So they actually tape his wrists onto the.
But he can move his arms a little bit.
Yeah, and he's still missing. He don't have full triceps. So he's a person who is just he's inspiring to me to watch him complete the thing. And I don't want to feel like I'm an inspiration just by doing one in a hand cycle, because like I said, I don't feel like, I mean, I could do that one, I think, any given Sunday just by doing a marathon. The fact is, what kind of time can I have? And, because
that's important to push yourself and to do, better your own expectations, I think. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and Alan, I think, like I said, to watch him complete the marathon, I think he's just he's an amazing person too. He has the best drive and the best, motivation for.
That's really amazing, inspiring. We'll post pictures and kind of watch we're excited to see kind of how that ends up. I think we made some really cool branded Riven Under Armour gear for you.
Yeah, that's for
really
sure.
Sweet. And
yeah.
So what are when you go speak with these individuals, with the youth, with people, other businesses, what's the message that you want them to take away from your talks?
The message
in your experience.
Yeah, I think when I get there, obviously I want to tell them my story and tell them what's happened to me, what I've gone through, and hopefully it motivates them to continue on, because the message that I get across is, that everybody has adversity. Everyone's got challenges in their lives, and actually everybody has goals. And I know, without even having to really even talk to somebody, that there's something that everybody wants, something that everybody's being faced with. It's just a matter if you're going to do something about it, because it's like I said, you can hope something's going to happen, but whether or not you're going to put the work in. And then plus, I talk about myself and the challenges that I've gone through. I mean, you're always going to have minor setbacks. People are going to fall down. You're not always going to be going uphill. It's not always going to be glamorous. I mean, you have to have trial and error. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's also going to be believing in yourselves.
Yeah.
You can't believe in the people who tell you it can't be done, or tell you shouldn't be trying that because it's too far out of reach, or even yourself. The biggest problem I think that most people face is themselves. They tell themselves, that's too hard, or I shouldn't do that, maybe because they're afraid of how someone else is going to, talk about them or what they're trying, or maybe even the fact of being afraid if they try it and they don't make it. What if they fail? What if they're not successful?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I say you can't let the fear of failing stop you from trying, because that's exactly how you're going to find out to get the next level. I mean, it's going to be hard, it's going to be disappointing, and it's going to be a struggle, because it's not easy. I mean, that's what they say. If it was easy, then everyone would do it.
Yeah. So, in talking with goals, like what are your long-term goals? I mean, what's your life like right now? What do you want to do? Like what do you want to see happen? What's your obviously walk and stand.
Yeah.
Like what else does that represent for you?
Well, yeah, walking and standing is obviously a big goal of mine. But I think right now I really want to continue to push through with my foundation, raising money to better other people's lives. And I also want to, take the opportunity. I have a kind of a rough situation here, and if I can improve someone else's lives, and I think I love actually doing motivational speaking to others. I actually have a safety talk and a motivational one that I've done to companies, and each time I've done it, I've reached out to people, and afterwards, if I can have an effect on the people and tell my message and change somebody's life, I mean, I've really got a passion for, because I know exactly.
It's got to be rewarding.
Yeah, it is, and I've heard a lot of people speak to me after I've talked to them, and just told me some of the struggles they're going through, and I mean, some of it is just like mind blowing to me that, I'm feeling sorry for myself when I hear about exactly what someone else had to go through, like you said, and if I can inspire them to keep going forward, I get inspired to keep doing what I'm doing now.
That's awesome. So tell us about we've got a couple more minutes, but I want to hear about some of the technical and the research stuff that you've been involved in, the spinal cord research, and then you've got kind of a cool little project that you're a part of. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so with the research that I'm a part of, I applied for this program that was down in Louisville, Kentucky, and now I'm one of 4 guys in the world who've received an epidural stimulator in your body. And it's just inside my stomach. Right here is a little brain box, and in the back is a stimulator. And when I turn it on, it allows me to move my legs, my toes, my ankles.
Wow.
And actually gives me the ability to stand up.
You said 1 of 5 in the world?
4, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So and that's cutting edge research right now. That's where they're doing things that are amazing. I mean, it's a
So what does it do? Does it replicate, or does it let the stimulation pass through where it's damaged?
no. So right on the back of your spinal cord is where the stimulator is, and that just stimulates the spinal cord, and it actually turns my muscles on, and it allows them to start. You actually can see my muscles kind of turn on. Actually, it's kind of weird, and then I get to a certain voltage where I can kind of take over, and I can move them on command. I also can start, like I said, have the ability to stand up. This improves your bone density, your blood flow, your circulation, just your overall health, and so that is
But you can't do it all the time. It's just a certain period of
well,
time?
the FDA has allowed us to do it for 4 hours a day, and that is a hard thing to hit 4 hours every day because,
Yeah.
I mean, it does wear you out, makes you tired, but it also, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love standing, especially when you can't, but when you stand every day, like actually I religiously stand every day, every day I stand, and I'll try and do like 40 minutes to an hour, but that gets boring. When you stand in one spot for 1 hour, it's tough, but I solemnly do it every day because I want to keep improving myself. I want to keep, making things get better. And so I believe that's what I keep doing for.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing. I mean, I asked you just kind of because I want to see how it works, but are you able to do that right now? And
Yeah,
show
yeah.
us
So
how,
you can,
how that works?
if they can hear, so that right there is just the remote. And just kind of tell them what I'm.
So he's just setting up his walker just for support and stabilization.
Yeah, because I can use it to help me get up, but my balance ain't the best. And this right here is just a remote thing that turns it on and off.
Can you feel it instantly?
Yeah, you can kind of feel it on your muscles kind of turn on like I don't know, I guess.
Charge up, kind of?
Yeah, it's kind of weird since I do it every day. It's not the same.
Are you like increasing the?
Yeah, I'm increasing the voltage right now
Because I have one of those like muscle stim things that like you turn up the power and it like stimulates your muscles. Is it kind of similar to that technology?
Yeah, it is.
Or just more obviously advanced.
Yeah, well, kind of. I mean, look at that remote. It looks like a Atari kind of thing.
Looks like one of my kids' Teletubbies.
Yeah, so it's but when I get to a certain voltage, so when the stimulator's turned off, I can't move any part of my legs, and then when I turn it on like this,
You can feel?
no, the feeling is not the sensation is not there, but I can feel my muscles, which is really hard to explain what I can and can't feel.
Right.
Like the awareness of your muscles?
Wow.
Well, the awareness that it's turned on.
That's amazing.
That's really amazing, man. Really.
Yeah. So and then actually, when I get that leg back towards that, where it looks normal.
Wow. That's incredible. And that's because of this device?
Yeah, and it'll take like 3 or 4 minutes for me to actually have it, because you can see they're shaking.
Uh-huh.
But like when I actually, so 3 or 4 minutes into this, like I said, you're turning on muscles. My legs were turned off. My body was turned off right there. And so after about 3 or 4 minutes of standing, I get more of a feeling. That's when I actually can kind of let go and practice on my balancing and stuff like that. But it takes every time. It's like you're turning on muscles that
Warming
weren't-
up.
Yeah. So it's
So what are the next steps for this technology and for you in regards to progression or the hope there?
Well, so obviously right now the main goal is, because this is it advanced a lot of things like well, like I said, it's improved my overall health and everything, and my bringing back muscle mass. It's just improved my life, and it's also so the goal right now is to make this an available treatment for everyone with a spinal cord injury,
Right.
so that we start improving people's lives, and then we all can work towards our goal, which is to walk again. But
And that receptor's physically inside your body and next to your spine?
yeah, you can see this right here.
Wow.
Okay.
You feel that? It's kind of weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from right there, that's like the brain box. And from right there, there's a wire that runs to my spinal cord. And the spinal cord that's what stimulates the muscles. And I have different configurations. Like, so that was my standing that allows me to stand.
Mm-hmm.
I have one where if I want to move my legs.
How expensive is this technology? I mean, is it just like...
That I wouldn't know because I never had to pay for it because I was a research participant. But, I don't know the technology. I mean, so for them to figure out exactly how it works and how they're making progress, that is like what the issue was. But the expense of it, I think it's going to be not too much. I mean, I don't think expense is going to be too much. The problem is, what people don't realize is I spent 2.5 years down in Louisville going to a research lab 5 days a week with intense therapy. I mean, so for me to be able to stand like that didn't happen overnight. So when this does become out an available treatment, I think that's where patients have to realize, it's time to go to work. I mean, it's
not an overnight thing.
No, but it's like anything, they'll have to realize that if they want something, they have to put the time in. And then, as we get to this point, that's why I stand every day. That's why I work with it every day, because there will be a next time where we're, all right, hey man, let's start taking some steps. And I want to be the best prepared for it when it happens.
So I have a question. So, I mean, seeing this, it's incredible that you're standing, but, I mean, this has to help so much in reversing some of the side effects from being in a wheelchair, which I think most people don't understand.
Oh, for sure.
As far as will you explain that, like the blood circulation you were talking about?
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of struggles. Like when you're paralyzed, remember, like the muscles don't turn
atrophy,
on. Yeah, the atrophy. So the circulation, and this turns on those muscles, and that increases, like you said, the blood flow. But another big one is, for me especially, so and for a lot of people out there, I mean, everyone's injury is different, but for me, when I first got injured, I lost control of everything. So my bowel, my bladder, my sexual function, the ability to sweat, I had no control over all that. So your life takes a total different change.
Yeah.
But this has also now brought back improvements in all those areas to where I feel confident, and so it improves your quality of life, your self-confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, it allows you to do things when I know I need to use the bathroom. That's a good feeling because I know I need to. But before, it was all right. So every 4 hours, I would use the bathroom to make sure I kept ahead of the schedule. So that, just like I said, just in those aspects, and then plus the ability for your, like you said, your circulation, because with when you're paralyzed, you don't have any of that. There's no movement, and so you atrophy, and all your internal organs. I mean, standing up is a good thing for your body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting down every day is not good on it.
Yeah, I mean, we're just about out of time, but Dustin, I mean, your story's absolutely amazing, and we're excited to be working with you. Everybody out there, we're going to be doing some probably co-branded Riven apparel with you, and also Dustin's own line of Dustin Shillcox Foundation apparel. And so, if you guys want to help out, if you've been inspired by the story at all, look for that stuff. But, I mean, I really want to thank you. I mean, doing these podcasts and talking with you, it's extremely beneficial for me personally and very motivational. And you're just an awesome guy, and it's just amazing to see the human spirit and kind of, just add me up to one more person that you've inspired, and very happy to get to know you and work with you.
An incredible helping of perspective that this kind of stuff really gives me. Because I think, like you said, people are working against themselves, and I'm picturing you in the car wreck and now where you are today. Just the positive attitude and the willpower took you from physically the worst condition you could have been in to standing, about to do a marathon. I mean, it's incredible. And what an eye-opener for people like Mike and I to just see, wow, what a positive attitude can do physically, on a physical level, as well as mental, spiritual. It's just, it's a reality check, and it's awesome, man.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you guys having me on the show, and like I said, even Riven with the clothing line, helping out, trying to improve other people. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity. I enjoyed you guys giving me this chance to come speak with you.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, man. It's honestly our pleasure, and we look forward to doing some cool, big things with you. So really appreciate it, and very, very inspiring, awesome stuff, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about the marathon. Good luck, man.
Thank you.
Check back with us. It's a wrap.
Good deal.